Okay.
Okay, this is another take. We're starting in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dolores Neal.
Hi, I'm Tanuk Taylor Neal.
And this is the TwinRose Podcast. We're going to be talking about our indigenous heritage, our recently discovered DNA/ancestry, and we're just going to be having a smooth flowing conversation. All right. So, how do you feel about those results? How did it make you feel when you saw them?
I didn't think I was gonna have much feelings, and I think my feelings and reaction was more shocked than I would have preferred, and I think a little bit of frustration just because I wish I would have known sooner, because I think it's easier to connect with identity when you have the full picture, and the picture is just not what I thought.
But even like when you say full picture, we don't even necessarily have the full picture because we don't know what other indigenous tribes we're a part of, and we're probably not going to be able to find out.
I agree. I mean, I just never imagined getting the picture. I'd never really thought of going the DNA route, so now that there's any picture at all, it kind of feels a little
Cemented?
Yeah, it feels too
Concrete?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of building analogies, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do you feel? Do you think that it makes you feel closer to your Tlingit heritage, or do you feel separated from it even more?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I had a chance to go to the archives and meet with somebody who has access to a lot of genealogy records. So I got to see family members on the maternal side that I had never heard of before. So I had kind of already felt very much more connected with my indigenous identity. But it does feel nice to see on paper how much my indigenous identity is represented along with my Black identity. I feel really confident in that, which I think has taken a lot of my life, and I didn't think it required data or numbers, but seeing that was a little bit comforting, especially given experiences with indigenous identity over time.
When I was looking at, because it's so not specific, it literally says indigenous Arctic and then indigenous, what did it say? America's North?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like so non-specific that, I mean, obviously we know we're Tlingit, we know that part of it, but just the fact that there's like so much more out there, and the steps that we would need to take in order to find out are vast.
Right.
Like there's so many different steps that we would need to take to even begin to find out like what that would be. And a lot of it, too, when I was looking it up, it said they don't know the tribes because it has a lot to do with tribal sovereignty. Like, they don't want to cross that line, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, how many people who are out there like us who are damn near 30% native, and we don't even know what that is.
Right.
Just food for thought.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you're Black, that you're indigenous, you're Afro-Indigenous, your Afro-Indigenous identity is represented in the Tlingit community?
I don't. I see leaders that are Afro-Indigenous. I don't see a lot of platforms that champion Afro-Indigenous identity, and I do notice that sometimes people that are Afro-Indigenous in leadership throughout Southeast, I feel like they have to kind of adjust to work alongside other admin and leaders. And I think even just on a smaller level that's not focused on leadership and administrative personnel, I think that Afro-indigeneity is hard to feel comfortable with here and in Southeast and in Alaska in general, I would say.
And I know even Dad, when he tried to learn more about our tribe and go to different meetings, when he asked, I don't remember who the tribal leader was or who the author was, he had asked an author, I can't remember, it's somebody significant, I can't remember his name, but he had asked him directly, like, what can I do to lift up Tlingit people? And the speaker's response was, worry about your own people first. Or worry about your own people.
No way.
So there's that. I mean, I guess that was in the 90s, and I guess it is different now, but I do feel like I wouldn't necessarily say there's a space for us, and it would be nice. I mean, not necessarily to have a space, but just, no, to have a space, because our experience is different from anybody else's experience, you know?
I agree. And I think in terms of what that author said to Dad, I just think that worrying about your own people or being told to do that, I think...
That's how we ended up where we are now.
Right, but I think...
I'm sorry, that was super vague, in the political climate that we are in now.
Right. Well, even so, I agree, yes, but also I think that certain identities, racial and ethnic identities, I don't want to be too specific because I just think I don't want to come across as polarizing, which is really easy to do when it comes to this type of conversation, but I think other identities that are wanting to be informed about Native or Indigenous identity, I think they're often supported and platformed, especially in Southeast Alaska. And then in terms of an Indigenous identity that's involved with another ethnic group or a person, an individual that identifies as Indigenous and XYZ, I think certain combinations have a different experience with that.
Totally. I mean, I feel like even Mom, and to kind of circle back to our genealogy results, well, I guess just DNA results, or is it the same thing? Whatever. I feel like Mom, especially being adopted, didn't necessarily grow into her culture until later, but I don't necessarily think there was a space for her either, because how are you growing up with white parents? I mean, there's white people in the tribe or whatever, but growing up with white parents, how are you supposed to get that Indigenous identity? It's not just automatically instilled in you, you know? It doesn't just happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think not only it doesn't just happen, but I honestly feel like sometimes Indigenous people that may not feel connected to their identity for however many years in their life, I think sometimes they can kind of be in proximity to people that will encourage it in different ways that are more effective or even neutral.
Right.
And I think just being neutral with a young person's identity, when it comes with like so many complexities, I think it can
Neutrality is dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous, yeah.
Being able to see our results and not thinking, and in it being solidified that we aren't what we thought we were. I feel like Mom has her own way of identifying with her own culture, as do we.
Oh yeah, I think it's a spectrum. And identity, I think it is very much plain, but also it can be unique and kind of undefined.
Period. I agree.
Yeah, and speaking of undefined, I feel like feelings are just so feely lately. And I think we can chalk it up to politics, but we can also just chalk it up to changes that are just kind of constant. And obviously, like, there's changes that we see happening on a scale that the media and different artists kind of like to identify with these changes as swift and kind of grandiose, but also some of these changes are just like natural.
Right. Even changes within our own corporation too. I feel like our shift towards AI is a huge, I don't want to get too political. I wouldn't say detriment. Yes, I would. But I feel like people don't realize the ramifications of, it's new technology, and new technology is great. There are things that you lose and gain, you know?
Oh, yeah. I agree. And it's like, I think that tribal corporations are looking at AI as innovative and what's the word where it's convenient. I feel like it's a convenience, and it's also like you mentioned, there's environmental impacts that are not minute, you know. And also, aside from that, it's just that this is access to indigenous data. In terms of data sovereignty, I don't think the conversation within the realm of AI and the doors that are opening, I don't think there's enough dialogue.
Totally. And I also feel like, and this was kind of discussed during our welcome week, not welcome week, but what was the intern?
Orientation week? Yeah, Connect Week.
I feel like the corporation as a whole is trying to get younger, even below us generations, like, interested. But I don't think that there's enough people like them in important rooms and spaces to make that connection, you know?
I agree.
Because I feel like mom is all up to date on everything, but she's on Facebook every day.
Right.
I'm not on Facebook every day, you know? And I think one of the big things was when, the shareholder meeting is, and most of the kids had no idea when it was, you know? And it's like, not that we're descendants of shareholders, but I mean, if the information is out there and people know, and kids especially, they'll go. And I say kids, I mean like 20, whatever, 19, 20-year-olds, that age range.
Right. Other generations. Yeah. I think that right now accessibility needs to kind of find more of a connected understanding, a collaborative definition, I think.
Totally.
Because like you're saying, there's important changes that certain generations kind of it's at their disposal, the knowledge, whereas other people, shareholders or descendants of shareholders from different generations, we just have a different connection. And I feel like sometimes we're almost punished for that, and it's like there's a lot of factors that play into why we are disconnected from one way or the other, whether
Absolutely. We're
displaced or our identities are complex or whatever. There's obvious factors, there's obvious signs of intergenerational trauma all around us.
Totally.
And I feel like that conversation of intergenerational trauma and the real consequences, I don't think we platform it enough. And I don't know if it's classism or eugenics or something like that, and that's what I feel like it is, because it's just too destructive.
And even then, it's like, when we went through the drama with our clan, like trying to discover what our clan was and our moiety was in the first place, and I wouldn't even necessarily call it drama, it's exhausting. And then you're like, well, this door's closing my face, this door's closing my face, like I don't have any more interest in trying to figure it out. And it's like, we've gone through the proper channels. You went to the history, the archives or whatever. I did my DNA. Sorry.
We'll bleep it or something.
But it's just like, I feel even further from finding out what it's supposed to, what it is, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think, again, accessibility, there needs to be more of a platform with understanding what it means for our communities. We started this conversation with AI. We kind of drifted into accessibility, and I want to go back to AI and just say that in terms of artificial intelligence, there's multiple facets of that. There's just the computers that you talk to on your device.
Right.
Then there's the computers that can affect a lot of different parts of our everyday experience. And then there's the supercomputers that are going to be doing surgical procedures or being doctors or having a role in society. And in terms of that conversation, I think we need to be more realistic about how fast these changes are going to happen and how it's going to widen inaccessibility points.
Yeah.
And even so, I think one precursor to even addressing that is being more realistic about the scientists and kind of different elite positions that are not always indigenous, that are kind of infiltrating our communities.
Totally.
Obviously, there's a benefit a lot of the time, but there's also a lot of exploitation.
Right.
And I think because of the excitement of publications or media coverage or some sort of hand in the pot, I think we're being misled.
Absolutely.
And it's happening so fast to where people who should be in those positions who are from our communities are not getting those opportunities, and it's destructive.
Right.
You know, I think we've addressed so many different kind of points of destruction in our community right now.
And I feel like a lot of times too, people will hear this conversation and be like, oh, it's so dramatic, whatever. Wherein, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, we're in times that are extremely destructive. And I think, just circling back to what we talked about in the beginning, we have to build some form of community, whether that's within our tribe or even outside if the space isn't available. But there just needs to be a space where these conversations can happen constructively.
I agree. I think these conversations that are definitely going to be new and innovative and necessary, I think we can really be creative with how these take place. And not only that, but we can collaborate to find more channels of what has to happen for us, for not only us as individuals, but our generation and the kind of intergenerational gaps that need to be bridged immediately.
Totally. Okay, and I think we can wrap it up. That's where we're going to leave off on the TwinRose Podcast. Okay, this is Dolores.
This is Tanuk Taylor Neal.
And we're signing off. 3, 2, 1.